Hello, everyone. My name is Phoenix Fire. Welcome back to the second episode of my podcast series. I really do appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to listen to what I have to say. I already recorded an episode 1 of this podcast series. Still don't have a name for it, still working on that, or an upload schedule. I'm currently working on that one. Just need to, pick a day of the week and a time of day just to, get a feel of when people are more apt to actually listen to this type of thing. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive right into today's topics. I've got a few things that I would like to talk about. My first podcast was based off of the mask mandate lift, where everyone could take off their masks because COVID cases were low enough to the point that as long as you're vaccinated, or even if you're not and you're still going to be careful, cases were low enough and hospitalizations were low enough that the CDC and the government felt like it was a great idea to just go ahead and lift that, to go ahead and take off the stress and anxiety of the American people. They told us all, hey, take your mask off, you're good. Just continue to be careful, watch what you're doing, all of that jazz. So anyway, that's basically what episode 1 was about. And I touched on the fact that I still wear my mask. And the only reason I still wear my mask is because I have not been sick in a little over 2 years. And that was, I actually thank the fact that I wore my mask. There's a lot of people out there that debate that a piece of cloth or anything covering your face is not going to stop the virus from entering your body. If you're going to get corona, you're going to get corona. But I'm a firm believer that the mask really did help, and the precautions that I also took by staying away from people as much as I possibly could, and keeping my hands washed and sanitized, and keeping surfaces clean and sanitized, and all of that trauma that we had to go through at the beginning and during the pandemic. And even now, I still keep my hands clean and sanitized, and I still wear my mask to this day, and I will not be removing mine simply because it's not necessarily due to COVID. That is still in the back of my mind, but I continue to wear my mask just because it is spring here on the East Coast, and Mother Nature is orgasming all over the place. Everything is growing and blossoming, and my allergies are saying hell to the no. We're not going there with you, Mother Nature. So I wear my mask anytime I step foot out my door, except when I take my dog out. When I take my dog out, as soon as I open the door, I can literally see and smell the pollen in the air. It is atrocious. So I hurry up, get outside, let him do his business, and back inside I go. I have turned into a hermit crab, and I used to have an extrovert type of personality, but at this point, I don't like the outside anymore. If I don't have to go out, I will not go outside. I know the weather's starting to get warm, but I couldn't care less. I actually hate this time of year. I hate spring and I hate summer. I don't like the heat. I don't like the bugs. I don't like the pollen. I just don't like warm weather. Call me a freak, whatever you want to, but I much prefer it when it's fall and winter. I like when things are dying off and everything is dead outside and it's cold. I don't know. I'm one of those, I guess you would call me a hot-natured person because I'm always hot. I love cold weather. So anyway, it's just a part of what I have to deal with here on the East Coast, the weather getting warm and everything blossoming. So anyway, I continue to wear my mask just so I won't get a horrendous sinus infection. And that brings me to topic number 1. So as I said, COVID was in the back of my mind, but now it's starting to ease more back toward the front again. Just when we thought we were safe, maybe out of the weeds, maybe we thought the virus was mutating and losing its power and just sort of becoming one of those like, oh, It's like a common cold situation. Now it's decided to mutate yet again from Omicron. I'm actually going to read a quick little excerpt from AP News and bring some more, I guess, news to your to your ears. All right, AP is reporting that COVID's not over. The cases are on the rise again across the United States. Lovely. So, I don't know about you, but my brain is literally screaming,
"No! God, please, no! 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 No!"
That's how I feel about it. That's what my brain says. Anyway, yet again, the U.S. is trudging into what could be another COVID-19 surge, with cases rising nationally and in most states after a 2-month decline. One big unknown. We don't know how high that mountain's going to grow, said Dr. Stuart Campbell Ray, an infectious disease expert at Johns Hopkins University. No one expects a peak nearly as high as the last one, when the contagious Omicron version of the coronavirus ripped through the population. But experts warn that the next coming wave, caused by a mutant called BA.2, that's thought to be about 30% more contagious, will wash across the nation. They worry that hospitalizations, which are already ticking up in some parts of the Northeast, will rise in a growing number of states in the coming weeks. And the case wave will be bigger than it looks, they say, because reported numbers are vast undercounts as more people test at home without reporting their infections or skip testing altogether. At the height of the previous Omicron surge, reported daily cases reached into the hundreds of thousands. As of Thursday, the 7-day rolling average for daily new cases rose to 39,521 cases, up from 30,724 cases 2 weeks earlier, according to data from Johns Hopkins collections at the Associated Press. So with all that being said, there's another wave coming. And I was actually just reading in the news the other day that also with BA.2, there's another variant that's actually broke out over in England called XE. And all that makes me think of is, your cell phone, like iPhone XS or whatever you want to call those things, and all the multiple names for iPhones. But anyway, there is another variant, and it's supposed to be just a pinch more contagious than Omicron is, in this BA.2. So this virus is just mutating all over the place. Granted, we now have more control over it, but it is still keeping people sick. Fortunately, however, from what I'm seeing and from what I'm reading, not a lot of people are dying as harshly and as quickly as they were at the beginning of this pandemic, when we had no clue what the virus was, what it was capable of, and it just completely swept the nation and took multiple lives. And my heart goes out to all the families and everyone who lost someone due to corona or had to suffer through its wrath. My heart goes out to you. Going back to my first episode of this podcast series, how are you all feeling about the mask mandate lifts? Like, here in Kentucky, where I'm based in Lexington, the mask mandate and restrictions were lifted because numbers were at an all-time low. Hospitalizations were down. Our numbers aren't that high. Actually, I don't think anyone knows what the numbers are because I don't think anyone has counted, or they're miscounting, or not enough numbers are coming in. There's just so much confusion as to what the real numbers are. And in my opinion, every time someone is sick, this may rub someone the wrong way, but I'm sorry, but everything isn't coronavirus. Everyone gets sick with something, and everything is not coronavirus. That's all I tend to hear is like, oh, he was sick, he had corona. Oh, she was sick, she had corona. Oh, that person was sick, they had everything is not coronavirus. Everyone around here is running around without their masks on. Now, I still do see some people with their mask on. I know a lot of the older individuals still have their masks on. I do still see middle-aged people here and there with them on. Younger people, forget it. I can't tell you the last time I actually saw anyone of the younger generation, anyone from the age of 3 to probably late 20s, 30-ish, in that sort of age group, wearing a mask in public. Now we have this new wave coming in. Granted, they're saying this new wave, when you get it, it's, mild symptoms. You have the headache, you've got the fever, you still have body aches and whatnot, but you will be sick for up to 2 weeks. But symptoms are the strongest within the first 5 to 7 days. And there are parts of the nation, I think I read the other day that the Northeast, states in the Northeast are now going back to mandating masks while you're inside. I'm not sure about the social distancing situation, but at least while you're indoors, they want you to at least cover your face back up. Now, here in Kentucky, no. There's no social distancing, There's no mandates or whatnot. So now, how do you all feel about this? Are you sick and tired of hearing it? I know I'm tired of corona, but I also don't want to get sick. And I haven't been sick in over 2 years. They do say during the warmer months that, some of these viruses or whatnot sort of bake off, if that makes sense. But with that being said, because it's warm, a lot more people are going to gather. They're going to be in bigger groups. They're going to be outside, granted, but they're still going to kind of be like on top of each other. I don't know. Every other week, it seems, it's like we have a wave, we have a wave, we have a wave, we have a wave. And it's just like, when is it going to end? Bruh. I don't know about you, but I still wear my mask. I have bad allergies, and I don't know what sicknesses are still floating around out there, but I still continue to wear mine. And I'm not sure how long I will keep mine on. Maybe for a while. I don't know. I can't really put a time frame on it, but as long as this mess is still in the news and we're still getting waves of these mutations, in the back of my mind, I'm still like, I know it looks like it's weakening off, but I'm wondering if there will be that one strain that mutates and just regains its power and just wipes this nation sick again like it did at the beginning of the pandemic. Anyway, what are your opinions? Are you all that are going maskless, are you still going to continue to go maskless if your states or your areas decide, hey, let's put those masks back on for a little while just until we get over this hump? Are you going to? Or are you just like, shit, I'm going to do what I want to do? If I get sick, I get sick, and I'll just tough it out. As I said, I'm tired of hearing about this. But then again, it's still serious because as I just read, hospitalizations are going up. All right, moving on. So another piece of news that I was reading the other day, going back into my feelings here, a little nostalgia. Kmart is almost extinct. Oh God, what do you guys think about that? I remember as a kid walking into Kmart, and the very first thing that used to slap me in the face as soon as you walked in the door was the smell of popcorn. And then, of course, in its little food court area, you could walk over there and get those big red ices that would stain your mouth for what felt like 2 days. Your teeth were red, your mouth was red, your tongue, everything was red. And heaven forbid you spill any of that on your clothes. A mother's worst nightmare. Trust me. I'm just, whew. But anyway, Kroger's going, not Kroger, Kmart. Kmart is going extinct. I'm going to read you a little excerpt here off of Yahoo Life. It was just one of the first articles. There's been many, but this one is the one that popped up on my news feed here. It says, as one of the last remaining Kmart stores prepares to close, nostalgic Kmart shoppers are taking to Twitter to share their favorite memories of shopping at the retail chain. Only 3 brick-and-mortar Kmart stores remain in the U.S., located in Miami, Florida, Westwood, New Jersey, and Bridgehampton, New York. And news of the superstore chain becoming nearly extinct has prompted fans to share incredible memories and moments experienced in the store, one that goes far beyond typical shopping experiences. This person is reporting that Kmart represents a time in my life I will always cherish. For this person, the time spent at Kmart brought memories of quality time spent with his grandparents, both of whom are no longer with him. That just resonates with me because every time I think about that store, I just remember my mom or my dad or my grandparents at points taking me into that store. And of course, I was a kid. Granted, we had a store here in the city that I live in, but it's been closed for, I can't tell you how long. But as a child, whenever I went into that store, their toy section was a gold mine. It was absolutely crazy. And I do remember going in to Kmart as a kid, and the store was always so busy. Oh my God, it was so busy. And then I think it was Sears that bought them out. And from there, from my point of view, at least here in Lexington, it just completely went downhill. It just flopped terribly. And Kmart just no longer was what it used to be. And it closed. But how do you all feel? Is that something that hits home with you? Like, do you have memories attached to stores like Kmart, that a lot of people grew up with, or for the older generation, it was just one of those go-to stores like Walmart is now, or your favorite grocery store or favorite toy store or whatever the case may be? I know Kmart used to be our go-to back when I was younger. It just hits, I don't know, it just hits me in the feels here. It sucks that it's closing, but I guess, on to bigger, better things. You have retail giants like Amazon and Walmart wiping out these smaller chains because they've grown so massively over the years. Kmart, from what I understand, used to have a little over 2,500 stores nationwide, but as I said, as Amazon grew stronger and eBay and online shopping has taken over in today's time, it's places like Kmart who unfortunately get snubbed out and they are forced to close. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about that. It just hits a little too close to home for me. And I'm gonna miss it. I really am. I'm gonna miss it. All right, let's see. Next topic. This is actually this is going to go back to another disease that is in the news right now, and I'm actually sourcing this from the CDC and the Tampa Bay Times because this is actually where the breakout is taking place. And of course, I am speaking about the meningitis outbreak. So I'm just going to read a couple of things from these articles here and see what your opinion is on the matter. This was taken as of April 13th. This is how up to date this is. So anyway, so far this year, Florida has confirmed 21 cases of meningitis, far outpacing annual averages, according to state health officials. They are encouraging high-risk groups, including gay and bisexual men, people with HIV, and college students to get vaccinated against the often severe and sometimes deadly illness. An outbreak advisory from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says Florida has a large ongoing outbreak of meningitis, primarily among gay, bisexual, and men who have sex with men, including those living with HIV. But in recent months, there have also been cases reported among college students, including an April 1st announcement that Florida's health department was investigating 3 confirmed cases in Tallahassee among people ages 18 to 22. At this time, though, there is no evidence linking the cases among college students to the larger outbreak. Florida's 21 cases of meningitis in 2022 are on track to eclipse prior years if the outbreak is not contained. Compared to 2022, Florida had 27 cases in 2021 and 17 cases in 2020, along with 23 cases in 2019. With that being said, I know those numbers sound low, but from what the Tampa Bay Times is also reporting is, yes, this outbreak is happening in Florida, but for those that have traveled to Florida and they're leaving Florida, they're now scared that they're picking up this deadly disease and they're carrying it back to wherever they came from. So now there is this thought of, ooh, is this going to spread on top of, this new wave of corona that's getting ready to sweep the nation yet again. So meningitis is highly contagious and it's extremely deadly from what I understand. The CDC is also reporting that STDs are also on the rise. Just a little fact here. Meningitis is caused by bacteria that are not as contagious as airborne viruses and typically require close contact over a period of time or direct contact, such as kissing or sharing drinks, to spread. It can first appear as a flu-like illness and worsen rapidly to include infections of the lining of the brain and spinal cord, which that's known as meningitis, and the bloodstream. There is a vaccination for meningitis already out there. So that is the good news for this. But the bad news is how quickly it spreads. So my thought process is be careful. Be careful. We're already dealing with coming out of a pandemic of coronavirus where, everyone was catching this deadly virus and some people survived and a lot of people didn't. And now we've got this story about it. We went from social distancing and covering our faces to now we got to be careful who we're hopping in bed with. And I hope everyone's playing it safe out there. But to each their own. There's no judgment here on this podcast. Just be careful. And I know, meningitis has been around, STDs, STIs have been around, HIV has been around. But this year, for some reason, the numbers for meningitis are the highest out of the past 3 to 4 years. So let's hope and pray that this does not take a turn for the worse on top of what we are already still going through with corona, because it just will not go away, and it's not going to. And I understand that. What are your thoughts on this? Are you all worried about it? I know me back in my day, I'm older now, so of course I have slowed down, and to be honest, I just don't have time for it. But I was a bad hopper, a whore, if you will. I used to be careless, and thank God I got lucky. How do you all feel about the meningitis outbreak? Like, are you worried it's going to spread? Are you just going to keep an eye on it? Are you not worried about it? I don't know. How do you feel about it? Let's go ahead and move on to the last topic of this cast here. Let me get it pulled up. Where did it go? Ah, there it is. Oh, Lord have mercy. All right. This one is the new breathalyzer that was approved by the FDA. This is a breathalyzer test for COVID-19. This is taken from the Bloomberg. They were the first to report on it, aside from the CDC. It's all the same, actually, after I read these articles. Anyway, the breathalyzer itself can provide diagnostic results in 3 minutes. It's absolutely insane how fast it is. It's going to be used in doctors' offices, hospitals, and testing sites. A COVID-19 breathalyzer test with the ability to provide diagnostic results in 3 minutes has won emergency use authorization from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the agency announced on Thursday. The test, made by Frisco, Texas-based Inspect IR Systems is authorized for those 18 and older and in settings where samples are both collected and analyzed, such as doctors' offices, hospitals, or mobile testing sites. The device is about the size of a piece of carry-on luggage. That is huge, the FDA said, and works by detecting chemical compounds in breath samples associated with SARS-CoV-2 infection, which is the COVID-19 virus. The agency said that the test was validated in a study of 2,409 people, where it correctly identified 91.2% of positive samples and 99.3% of negative samples. It performs similarly in follow-up tests focused on the Omicron variant. The breathalyzer sensitivity is comparable to that of rapid antigen tests studies show. Now we have a new way of testing for corona, which is the breathalyzer. And I was actually reading something in the news. I actually don't have the source in front of me, so don't take my word for it, but I just literally saw it the other day that I think it was in the northeastern states somewhere. Don't quote me on that, but it's going to be required to actually take this breathalyzer walking into certain places. I'm not sure if this is going to be businesses, hospitals, or where it was, but they are now thinking about having this as sort of like a mandatory thing before you enter certain places, which, to be honest, I think that's a lot more simple than enforcing that you show your vaccination card or that you force people to put a mask on. And the only reason I say that is because of the outcry and the violence that ensued when that mandate was in effect. A lot of people freaked out, and oh my goodness, things got so tense and violent. It was insane, all of the stuff I was reading in the news, because someone was asked to put a mask on at the door or was being forced to provide their vaccination card. A simple little breathalyzer, I think it's kind of cool. It's just another step that we're taking as the American people to ensure the safety of everyone, especially after the past 2 years of nothing but a nightmare. COVID-19 is not going away. And I know quarantines are getting shorter, but even with this new wave coming in, it's being reported that if you are exposed to someone with COVID, or if you think you have it, they are encouraging you to quarantine. Granted, it's for 5 days instead of 2 weeks, but when you get it, the day you think you're exposed to it is actually day 0, but they want you to quarantine for 5 days. Once you test again after 5 days, and if you're negative, you can come out of quarantine, but it is recommended that you wear a mask still, especially if you're going to be around people, and they're encouraging that you social distance, because even though you feel better and you're testing negative, that coronavirus itself is still live and you can still pass it to someone else. And they're also reporting that even after 5 days of you feeling better, that test might actually be a false read and you are still actually technically positive for corona for up to 2 weeks. You may feel like you're walking on sunshine, but you are still live with the coronavirus. So this breathalyzer device, I think, is a great idea to help detect it. I do know the at-home self-tests. I have a few myself. They take roughly about 15 minutes. I mean, it's pretty fast compared to when tests first came out. It was taking, a day or two to determine if you were sick with the coronavirus. Now we've got speedier results. The at-home tests are 15 minutes, whereas this new breathalyzer unit will give you a result in about 3 minutes. I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, what are your thoughts about this? If you happen to go out, or say if you have to go to the hospital and you're stopped at the door and you're being asked, hey, need you to take a breathalyzer, we need to see if you have the coronavirus or if you're negative, are you going to actually stop and take the test, or are you just not going to care? Are you going to get upset if you were denied entry into somewhere because you refuse the breathalyzer. What are you all's feelings about this? I myself don't mind. Whatever. It's a quick 3 minutes out of my day. It's not killing anyone. For me to stop and blow on this device to see if I have corona or not. Granted, I haven't been sick in, as I said, in over 2 years, but I keep myself tested on the regular. My mom seems to think that I'm paranoid and I'm turning into a germaphobe, but it's all for good reason. I used to suffer, I swear it seemed like every other week with something. Either I had the flu or I had strep or I had an allergy attack or something. I was always sick. And then the pandemic happened and I started really focusing on, I'm not washing my hands as often as I thought I was. I'm not really disinfecting everything. And let's cover up my face. That's a great idea. And as soon as I started doing that, I haven't been sick in over 2 years. So my mom calls me a germaphobe. She thinks I'm being paranoid, but it's for good cause. I haven't been sick. For me to take time out of my day to take a breathalyzer for COVID, it wouldn't bother me at all. As long as I'm away from people, like I hope it's not a situation where they've got like a line at the door and they're having you remove your mask to take this breathalyzer while you're being exposed to everyone around you. You know what I mean? I just hope they're careful with it. Just like with the testing sites where they ask you not to get out of your car and they just roll the window, or you roll your window down and they shove a little cotton swab up your nose and you're good to go. So that's all I have for you on this episode. Sorry if I seemed long-winded. I was trying to get out as much as possible without throwing in too many of my personal opinions. What do you guys feel with the new wave of COVID? Do you care? Do you not? Do you simply just not give a about anything anymore? Are you going to follow any guidelines set into place? Are you looking forward to going back into another restriction mandated sort of situation? What do you feel? And then also, how much in your feels are you that Kmart's closing? I know a lot of people actually probably don't care, but I know a little part of me is going to die when the last Kmart closes. I know around here we no longer have them anymore, but just to know that they're still open, a little piece of my heart smiles for that, because at least in those 3 locations, there are still people that are able to enjoy the essence of what Kmart is. And then with the meningitis situation, how do you feel about that? Are you worried that it's going to become like the next pandemic, or do you think it's just going to sort of contain itself and just sort of not really go away, but just sort of not be a big deal? And then lastly, like, how do you all feel about the COVID-19 breathalyzer? I honestly think it's pretty unique that someone came up with the idea. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am still doing my narrations. You can find me on YouTube under the name Phoenix Fire. The P and the F are capitalized. If you like horror and crime narrations, go ahead and check those out. And if you feel inclined to, leave a like and a comment or subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. If not, then stay tuned for episode 3 of the podcast series. Still don't have a name for it yet. Hopefully by the next episode I will. But in the meantime, it's just me blabbing away. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will catch you on the flip side. See ya.